Time now for Media Watch. Rebecca's here to tell us what she's been looking at today. Starting, Rebecca, with the briefcase bombing in New Delhi this morning. Serious story.
Absolutely, Mark. Let's go straight to the computer and have a look at the Global Spin blog, which comes from Time magazine. Another deadly bomb blast in New Delhi. It says, of course, this is not the only one this year. The same court building was targeted back on the 25th of May. And a certain extremist group has claimed responsibility, Harkat al-Jihad, in an email that they sent out to a number of different media organisations, saying that they want this man, you can see here, Afzal Guru, his death sentence to be commuted or repealed immediately. He was sentenced back in 2004 to death because certain links were made between him and a bunch of people who targeted the Indian Parliament back in 2001. So over in India, there's been a number of different portraits popping up on various news websites. This one, IBN Live, gives a kind of an introduction to the group. It's the Islamic Struggle Movement in English. They're known as Huji, based in Pakistan, in India, and also in Bangladesh. And they have strong links to Al-Qaeda. If you remember Ilyas Kashmiri, I'm sure you remember him, killed by a US drone in South Waziristan in June. He's the kind of most high-profile operative of this group. They started out in the 80s, spread to Bangladesh in the 90s, probably given a helping hand by Osama bin Laden. And they've had some quite ambitious plans to overthrow the Bhutto government in Pakistan, to assassinate the Bangladeshi Prime Minister back in 2000. This Indian news portal here, Rediff.com, asks, is Huji stepping up its operations? Whether it's ramping up its campaign. The US declared them a terrorist organisation a year ago, and at that time the activity started to slow down. But since then, according to a source in the Intelligence Bureau in India, they've become much more active. They've been recruiting. There are sleeper cells apparently in West Bengal, and it could be a sign that more high-profile abductions and attacks are to come.
OK, there's been a tragic air crash, of course, in Russia with sports stars from one of the top ice hockey teams in Russia losing their lives.
That's right.
What kind of reaction has there been online to that?
A very sad reaction, as you'd imagine, particularly in the sporting world. The Lokomotiv hockey team in Moscow, as you say, perishing. Sovsport.ru, a sports website in Russia, has had this as the top story all day. We can see here on Google Maps where it happened. The plane came down near the city of Yaroslav in central Russia when it was on its way to Minsk, capital of Belarus. It's been trending on Twitter under hashtag KHL, the Continental Hockey League, of course, which is the Russian league. We can have a look at some of these tweets. This is the KHL's page saying we're only beginning to understand the impact of this tragedy. We've got here a Russian-American hockey fan, Dmitry Chesnukov, and he draws a link with another accident 32 years ago, also on the way to Minsk. Bearing in mind that Russia has one of the worst air safety records in the world. Another tweet here from David Pagnotta. He's the editor-in-chief of The Fourth Period, which is a hockey magazine. He tells us about the one survivor. It was some good came out of this. As far as we know, a forward in the team actually did survive that crash, and there have been links also drawn to the Munich air disaster, of course, in 1958, where 8 members of Manchester United perished in that particular crash.
Let's finish with some pictures which could finally lay to rest all those conspiracy theories and doubts about the moon landing.
That's right, Mark. I'm sure you remember the documentaries like this one made by Fox. Which
I remember the moon landing.
You don't look like you should.
I wasn't there, but you know.
The conspiracy theories, yeah, they've been abounding for years about did this ever really happen? There have been some new photos released by NASA which hopes to put to bed all of that. NASA has sent its Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter to take new HD photos of the surface of the moon. Just about 21 kilometres above the surface of the moon, you get to see astronaut footprints, scorch marks on the spacecraft, and lunar rover tracks. So it might just mean finally they're going to convince the sceptics that it wasn't a big hoax.
So the moon not made of cheese, eh? There we go. Thank you very much, Rebecca Barry, there with a Media Watch.